You don't belong in a hotel like this." Jeff continued with that attitude, looking down on me. Then, Sarah approached him and pulled something out of her purse. "So you are Jeff," she stated. She handed him the item she had taken out. He was so taken aback that he was speechless. "My name is Michael. I work as an office worker. Sarah and I have been married for a year, and although we get along well, there's been one concern. It's about how busy my job is. Being naturally diligent and dedicated to my work, I've gained considerable trust from the company, albeit self-proclaimed. However, this meant I was constantly busy from morning till night, unable to spend time with her. Staying at the office past midnight wasn't unusual, which worried her a lot. When I called to say I'd be late that day, her voice was filled with anxiety. "Are you okay?" "I'm totally fine, don't worry. But you must be getting very little sleep lately." "Well, I'm managing somehow. The thought of you collapsing worries me so much. I think things will settle down a bit once I get through the current project." "Are you sure you're okay?" "I'm fine. Let's save up and go on that overseas trip soon." I put on a brave face, pushing myself a bit. The overseas trip was a promise I made to her when we got married. I promised to take her abroad since she had never been. We were close to our savings goal for the trip. But given how busy work has been, it might still be a while before we can go. Then one day, I caught a cold from being too engrossed in work. I knew exactly who I got it from. My boss, Jeff, was to blame. With his snarky attitude, he would grumble about even the smallest dissatisfaction. He approached me, coughing, to strike up a conversation. While I was busy with my own tasks, Jeff seemed to be making snide remarks as if trying to pass his cold on to me. "Jeff, you're clearly coughing a lot. At least wear a mask." "Shut up. I can't stand wearing something so suffocating." He continued to yell at me, spraying droplets as he spoke. Amidst such behavior, I ended up catching a cold. It's a wonder I didn't get sick sooner with that kind of exposure. I was feverish and in no shape to work. Feeling guilty but overwhelmed, I decided to take some time off. Seeing me like that, President Thompson suggested that I take a long vacation, considering the circumstances. He appreciated my hard work and wanted me to have some time off. I was surprised to receive such kind words. When I told Sarah about the long vacation, she was overjoyed. "Now you can finally take it easy. That's wonderful. It's unfortunate that I got sick, but the long vacation is a blessing. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise," Sarah said, all smiles. She was just happy that I finally had some time to rest. I felt grateful but also a bit guilty. It was clear evidence of her concern. Seeing my gloomy expression, she leaned in and spoke. "Hey, since we have the chance, why don't we go on a trip using this time off? The overseas trip we promised. That might be too much to prepare for on short notice. Let's go somewhere within the country." I thought it was a great idea. If we missed this chance, who knows when we'd be able to travel again. I nodded eagerly to her suggestion. We may not get another chance like this, so let's do it. Yay, it's decided. Let's start looking up right away. Just so you know, we'll go after I've recovered from this cold. I know, I'm not that heartless, she replied. The promised overseas trip would have to wait, but finally, we could spend some quality time together. I rested fully, and the cold was gone in no time. Few days after my recovery, we splurged on a stay at a luxury hotel. It was a place we decided on after much research and discussion, looking through the internet and magazines. After checking our luggage at the hotel, we went sightseeing. We enjoyed local delicacies, visited museums, and savored each experience thoroughly. Everything was enjoyable and fulfilling. I was glad we came. It felt like I had not laughed this much in a long time. A different sense of fulfillment filled me, unlike when I was working. Seeing her having fun just like me made me feel happy, but also a bit guilty. "I'm sorry, Sarah. What's wrong all of a sudden?" "I've been so caught up with work, I haven't been able to make time for us." I opened up about my true feelings to Sarah as we walked side by side. But Sarah didn't seem to mind at all. She looked at me with a serious face and laughed. "I love you for your hard work. That's why we're together," she said. "Thank you. Besides, we're having a good time together now, so no problem," she said, giving me a hearty pat on the back. Her positivity had saved me so many times before. With those thoughts, we enjoyed our day out and returned to the hotel. That's when an unexpected person appeared. Well, if it isn't Michael," he said. "Jeff. I never imagined I'd run into someone from work, especially Jeff, on vacation." Our good mood was instantly ruined. He approached us with a smirk on his face. Sensing the tense atmosphere, Sarah's expression darkened. "You surely don't plan to stay in this hotel, do you?" "That was the plan. A person like you doesn't belong in a luxury hotel like this. You should leave," he said. He began to say things that were nonsensical to anyone listening. It was none of his business. "I've already made reservations, so that's not possible." "Ah, I see. You're getting ahead of yourself, aren't you?" I'll be excusing myself to head back to my room. I quickly tried to leave, walking past Jeff. I don't want to tarnish even a moment of this enjoyable time. However, Jeff grabs my arm to stop me. He seems annoyed by my attitude, clearly not pleased. "Wait a minute. What is it? What kind of room are you staying in?" "Just a regular room, but..." I knew it. Hearing my response, he claps his hands joyfully. This happy expression is a sign that the sarcasm is about to start. I've seen it numerous times at work. "I'm staying in a suite. You can just see that I am staying there." It made no sense to me why he would go out of his way to say something like that. There's probably no valid reason for him. Mocking me is his sole purpose. You're really reaching, aren't you? This hotel is not suitable for someone like you. With the same tone he uses to throw shade at work, he continues to belittle me. I was filled with the desire to retort, but I found I couldn't speak. Wondering what was wrong, I reached for my throat with my right hand. Sarah was beside me, looking at me with concern. It seems that the stress had finally caught up with me, rendering me voiceless. I was surprised by the timing of this, shocked at myself. "Can't you say anything back? Don't you find that pathetic?" His mocking face filled me with frustration and anger. Memories of being ridiculed at work flooded back all at once. Then, Sarah, who had been watching from the side, approached him. "So you're Jeff. I have something for you." "Ha, something for me." She took a piece of paper out of her bag and handed it to Jeff. What's this?" Seeing his surprise, I peeked at the paper and was equally astonished. It was a termination notice for Jeff. Why does she have something like this? Jeff and I both looked at her. You must be wondering how I know him and why I have this, right? Since I still couldn't speak, I nodded vigorously. Jeff, furious, confronted Sarah. That's right. What's the meaning of this? What authority do you have? While slapping the termination notice in right hand with his left hand, he shouted. She took a deep breath and began to explain. The president of your company, Mr. Thompson, often dines at the restaurant where I work. Mr. Thompson from our company. Sarah had been working at a traditional restaurant in a shopping district before we got married. I knew that, but I had no idea that Mr. Thompson was a regular customer. As we were chatting about various things, we coincidentally discovered that he is the president of your company. And why do you have my termination notice? Even if they got along well, that seemed like a separate issue. As if she had been waiting for this moment, she continued. I was discussing with Mr. Thompson how worried I was about my husband's demanding job. So that's how it was. I was finally able to let out a bit of my voice. I never imagined that for my sake, she would consult Mr. Thompson. He was concerned about you too and knew about the unfair treatment you were getting from Jeff. You hear that from Mr. Thompson. Jeff, feeling cornered, couldn't say anything in return. She pointed at the termination notice in his hand and spoke. He arranged for some time off for us, wanting us to have some undisturbed couples time. Furthermore, he said to use this if any harm came our way, and gave me the termination notice. I couldn't believe that he went to such lengths for us. It just goes to show that there are indeed people who notice and care. Jeff went silent, his face turning pale. But I never thought we'd have to use it so soon. No, I can't believe it. I refuse to. He said this and began making a call on his mobile phone. It seemed he was calling Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, Michael's wife handed me a termination notice, but this must be some kind of mistake, right? But she hadn't lied about a thing. From his phone, I could hear Mr. Thompson's reprimand. Realizing that the termination was indeed factual, his face went ashen. How could this? Murmuring so, Jeff collapsed to his knees. Well then, we'll be excusing ourselves. We headed to our room. Jeff remained in a daze until a hotel staff approached him. Once in our room, I apologized to her. I had no idea you went to such lengths for me. I'm sorry. Stop it. You didn't know because I didn't tell you, so it's only natural. That was true, but that wasn't why I was apologizing. I'm sorry for causing you so much worry to the extent of taking such action. I see. That's what you mean. Understanding my point, she smiled. Let's save up and go on a trip abroad together. You promised me that when we got married. She mused nostalgically. To fulfill that promise, you've been working so hard, haven't you? Well, it's a promise after all. Being reminded made me feel somewhat shy. Though I was focused on my work, my biggest motivation was undoubtedly Sarah's presence. On my own, for my own sake, I couldn't have worked this hard. So I'll forgive you for not noticing my worries. Saying so, she flashed a brilliant smile and made a thumbs up. I truly felt fortunate to have married her. We enjoyed our meal provided by the hotel, savoring our private time as a couple. When we returned to work after the holiday, Jeff was nowhere to be seen. Just as the termination notice stated, he had indeed been fired. Given his nature of always making snide remarks to others besides me, everyone was thrilled at his departure. With someone who hardly worked and only made others uncomfortable gone, the workplace environment improved significantly. Overall motivation increased, leading to a significant boost in performance. I later heard that Jeff, who had stayed at the same hotel as us, was actually there with a woman he met at a club. Being married, the truth eventually reached his wife, leading to divorce proceedings. Combined with the shock of losing his job, Jeff seemingly lost the will to look for work. Now, it seems he's living a frugal life, scraping by on his savings, but who knows how long that will last. It goes without saying that a grim future awaits him. But enough about Jeff, let's get back to my story. Later on, I visited the restaurant where Sarah works. The truth is, this restaurant is where I first met her. I fell for her at first sight when she was working as a waitress, and exchanging contact information with her was the beginning. I remember being the most nervous I've ever been in my life when I asked her out on a date and confessed my feelings. And I clearly remember feeling the happiest I've ever been when she said yes. Since we started dating, I felt too shy to visit her restaurant often. But suddenly, I felt the urge to visit after a long time, and so I did. Back when I used to frequent the place, looking forward to the recommended dishes here was the highlight of my day. Sarah was surprised to see me after such a long time. Oh, what a rare sight. I missed the taste here. Could I get one of the recommended dishes, please? Sure thing. The place was bustling, especially since it was lunchtime. Then, unexpectedly, someone called out to me. A familiar voice came from behind. Hey, isn't that Michael? Har, Mr. Thompson. I knew he was a regular, but I never expected to bump into him here. Meeting him outside of work felt strangely surreal. Mr. Thompson, thank you so much. For what? I'm grateful for all your concern and support. As I expressed my thanks, he laughed heartily and clapped me on the shoulder. Don't worry about it. Really, I can't just. But more importantly, his expression turned serious. Working hard is important, but there are other things in life that you should pay attention to as well. Now, I understand the meaning of his words all too well. From a distance, Sarah was busily attending to customers. Being busy with work is precisely when you need to face what's truly important. This whole incident has made me acutely aware of that. There's no doubt that work is important. But that's not all there is to life. I haven't yet fulfilled our promise to go on an overseas trip, but I've decided to stop pushing myself too hard for it. Not just for my sake, but for Sarah's as well. Watching Sarah work, I made a firm resolution in my heart.